Hey, Bill Young again. If you've been following along, I've been cutting these ear savers. I saw a video of a Boy Scout in Canada that was 3D printing these. I thought it was really neat. So I used his file and I 3D printed a bunch of them, but they were a little bit slow. So I thought, well, I can get some thin plastic and cut a bunch. So they go behind your head, hook on the straps of a mask, hook on these barbs. So it takes the load off your ears. Just makes it a little more comfortable. It's not strap it and cutting into the back of your ear. So I've been cutting a bunch of those things, and I'm cutting them on my 4x8 machine, getting close to 450 out of a sheet of .02 or .04 plastic. So while I was cutting, I figured I'd come up with something else that might help a little bit. And I found these hooks. They're called Savegrabbers on Thingiverse. And the idea is you hook a door if you need to pull it. You use the end of it to push buttons on a credit card machine. I have push button lock on the door of the shop, so it was handy for me. I found it was the original, I think, was done by a guy named Julio Iglesias, which I thought was a very cool name. So I started 3D printing these, and I just chug along and keep printing, but I get about a dozen a day. And I thought, well, I got some 1/4 inch HDPE. Let's see if I can cut some. So I cut, they only take about a minute to cut. I can cut 13 of them out of a square foot of HDPE. I don't know what that is the cost, but it's not too expensive. They're probably 15, 20 cents a piece in materials. And then it takes me another minute to cut the tabs off that hold them in place and to use a deburring tool to clean up the edges, any kind of fuzz around these, take these sharp edges off of here. So I cut them all the time, and I've got a whole pile of them here, and I hand them out. I'm trying to keep the folks in this little place I live safe. So my wife hands them out. She walks a lot for exercise, and so she hands them out to everybody she sees. The disadvantage of them is you end up sticking it, you touch a door or push some buttons, and then, in theory, you could have some virus and bad stuff on this thing. You don't want to just stick it in your pocket, because whatever you contaminated it with is now in your pocket. So I found the guy on Thingiverse again, who had files for doing these holsters, and they were pretty neat. They got a little clip on the back. It all dovetails together. He had a couple of clips, and it just drops in. So you clip this on your belt, and you just reach in and take it out. And when you're done, you put it back in, and you're not putting it in your pocket. All the bad stuff is in the holster, and it's all open so that you can clean it out real easily. It's not like a knife sheath that's closed on the bottom, and all the bad goo is stuck on the inside. And I printed a bunch. I had a bunch of different kind of filaments, so I printed a bunch of them. But I started thinking that maybe I could make these things too, or some variation of them. So I took the shape of this, and I kind of laid it out flat in V-carve and made this pattern. And these V-grooves are fold lines, and this is the clip that folds back to make the belt clip. And I cut a bunch of these. I had some 1/8 inch PVC I've been storing around, using for odds and ends things. So I take these, and then I use hot water to fold them into shape and making these. So I'll show you how that works. I've tried a bunch of different things. The first one I did was kind of a miter fold. And it's a trick for making boxes where you cut almost all the way through the material with a V-bit, put tape across the back, put glue in there, and fold it all up. And it sort of assembles and glues everything together and held with tape. But it's really fussy with depth, especially with this thin plastic. So I struggled. A bunch of them failed. You got to get enough of a fold. You need to leave enough meat for it to fold, but not so much that it doesn't want to fold. So my next option was to cut shallower and use a heat gun and just kind of soften the plastic and then fold it by hand. And that was, I'd burn myself about every third one, and I kind of just felt like heating PVC is probably not a good idea fume-wise. Just heating it enough to soften, but it's easy just to wait a little bit too long, and then all of a sudden it's gotten too hot. And I know PVC off gases some funny stuff if it burns. I don't know what it is before it burns. So my solution was hot water. This stuff gets really malleable in hot water, right below boiling. So just drop it in and fold it. I'll show you how that works. So one of the most important things I've got in the shop is the grill. Cook out in the summertime, lots of times. It's way faster than going out to eat. Cook hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever. And lots of times whoever's working around here in the shop center, we get together and fix lunch, gets a chance to associate. We don't get much chance to do it anymore with these social distancing business. But it is an advantage. I can do things like heat water. So I got this cookie can full of water, and I've got it pretty hot. It doesn't hurt to be boiling, but it doesn't need to be boiling. So I got my piece, and I just immerse it in the hot water, give it about 10 seconds till your hands start hurting. It gets hot enough to do that. You want it to be malleable, be able to bend it. So take that piece, that's just right. I'll bend it around. I want a couple of 90s. See how the nice 90 degree. So I hold that while I do a diagonal corner. So it's setting, part I'm pinching is setting, while the next piece is getting ready. So let's go just another couple of seconds. It's getting too hot. So fold it. One, 2 90s. So hold this one, get the one that's across from it. It's set for yeah, there we go. And take it, fold it, hold it. This one needed a little bit more. So just stick it back in the water. That's better. So give it. And it folds, the V gives it a fold line, but it's and it also acts like a hinge too. And then the last one, the next to the last one, is this little bottom piece. There we go, let's see how that does. Yeah, just right. So hold that in place. Usually I'll take them and put them in the freezer in the shop. So let it fully set. But I'm not finished yet. So the last one is this clip that clips on your belt. And this one, since it's on the back, doesn't have V-lines. I didn't want to do a flip. So what I do is I just put it in the water, let it sit for just a little bit. And I've got a piece of 1/4 inch, just scrap 1/4 inch plywood that I use as my, my bending form. So you can tell, it's got just pretty close. It's starting to get pretty flexible, pretty malleable. All right, so like this, make it fold, then fold again, wrap it around here, give it just a little bit, then kind of push it down tight. And you want to have about a 1/4 inch. So it's going to want to spring back a little bit. But it's done. So you end up like, every once in a while you get a little kind of weird one like this. This little corners want to open back up. Just stick it back in. And if you watch it, when you put it in the water, once it gets soft enough, it'll sort of straighten back out. Yeah, let's just give it one quick. Grab it, hold it. Once you've held it in place, this little rascal's done. So the final step, once you've got these things all folded up, there's a little open joint where the fold is. There's one where this little lip is. That I don't worry too much. But this one here where it meets the body has a chance, I think, of opening up with enough, there's not much holding it. So what I do as the final step is take some CA glue and basically weld that seam. Just squirt a little bit. The thin CA glue just runs in the joint. I just hit these just squirt a little bit in the seam, right on the inside corner there. Just do a little bead there and let that kick. And that just strengthens that folded joint. So I've got a couple of hundred of these things cut. And all I gotta do is now go to the grill. Whenever I wanna do some, I just heat the water up and off it goes.